HiSec Buyback offers 90% JITA anywhere in HiSec. Simply go to hisec.evebuyback.com, appraise your items, create a contract, and get paid quickly.
All right, everyone, welcome to Talking in Stations for Thursday, October 28th. I don't even know what day of the week it is. I've been busy doing some home construction, having fun, playing a little bit of Eve. Welcome to the show. All right, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. We got some guests here. Say hello to Nth Dimensional. He's going to help us with the Halloween stuff. Say hi.
Hello, world.
Excellent. And in the background doing top-notch engineering work is Maniscar. I kicked Nick Bison to the curb. He was pissing me off, so went back with Maniscar. So, all right. So we got lots of stuff to talk about tonight. Some game news, some player news, so we'll get right to it. So Nth Dimensional is joining us tonight because the Crimson Harvest started today, the Halloween Horrors Haunt event. So as usual, best drops are from the low-sec sites and the Blood Raiders region in null-sec, so that would be in the Delve area. We're going to get into some more details. Nth is very focused on the exploration side of it, but he's got some information on the combat. We'll try and walk through some of that and give you guys some places to start, and then give you a little bit of success there. First thing I want to mention about this, 90% PvP loot drop, right? So this is actually pretty big. If you're in any sort of PvP, better bring some bigger ships with bigger cargo, because there's going to be a whole lot more stuff dropping. 90% loot drop compared to the normal average of 50%. So the rec icons have also changed to reflect that. So that's pretty big. Nice increase there. So let's talk about, there was patch notes, of course, that went along with this, but before we get to the patch note, there was also a exploit mentioned by CCP. There's a post out there. It has to do with the Concord Rogue analysis beacon, the crab, where what happens if you can deploy it, which makes it impossible to warp to its location successfully. Please be advised that that intentionally deploying crab in space in any manner that prevents other capsulators from warping to it is against the intended gameplay design. So that is now considered an exploit, and they go into detail that if you see someone doing it, how to contact customer support, and of course, hidden in the messages, don't do it. All right, I haven't seen this, but there was a few people talking about it around too. So yeah, that's kind of crappy. The whole point of the crab is that you can warp to it, right? So no fun. All right, so patch notes though. Obviously, the majority of the patch notes have to do with Crimson Harvest. That event runs through the 9th of November. Of course, we've got the combat and hacking sites all over HiSec, low-sec, null-sec, wormhole space, and we'll talk a little bit more detail of that. They have added some additional little items where you can kind of join either the Blood Raider or the Order of Tetramon, so you can kind of choose between those options for your agency challenges. It's a slight little twist this year. Hopefully we'll get into some of that as well. You basically, don't forget, there's also a set of login rewards. I think it's 9 days long. There's some skill points, some boosters, skins, bunch of other stuff. Pretty neat. So don't forget to log in and get those. There is also a special Crimson Harvest Abyssal Proving Ground that starts tomorrow on the 29th of October, runs until the 2nd of November. It is going to be a 4-player T1 Destroyer free-for-all format with special sets of bonuses to web range, energy warfare, strength, and then laser damage. The Let's Heavy Destroyer harness the power of a Blood Raider ship. So that would be exciting if you're if you like to run the Proving Grounds, a little T1 destroyer free-for-all. For patchy patch notes, as opposed to the event, they did update the aggression mechanics in the ESS. A PvP timer will now be initiated when establishing a link to either the main bank or the reservoir bank. That was a player-driven request. Another player-driven request out of the gameplay update was they increased the rogue drone metaplasmin drop rate from Concord rogue analysis beacons. The frequency of these drops have now been increased, resulting in higher chances of multiple multiplasmids, say that fast 3 times, dropping from each successful crab run. Missions and NPC, that's another player-driven request that's been turned into an update. Concord has significantly increased the wanted bounty for each of the new rogue drone threats discovered by the crab deployments. They increased it by 20%, so that's hopefully trying to balance the payout. Rogue drones summoned by the crabs have been observed to exhibit a change in tactics as well. They will now be keeping inside the scanning perimeter of the crab and also remembering what ships have been threatening them, such that any new ships arriving at the crab will be less likely to garner their attention. So they will continue to focus on those who have been there the longest. They also changed the bill of materials for the rogue analysis beacon for the crab. I'm not going to go through the numbers, but it's been decreased, so basically a little bit cheaper to build. They made some updates to the user interface. The icon for the solar system interference has now been moved to a mouse over tooltip of the solar system name in the info panel, and they also added an icon for the link bonus effect that appears in the status bar when linking to a crab. All right, some defects. They fixed radical fighter support unit multi-plasm and mutation ranges. They removed some turret graphics from some of the new rogue drone entities. They fixed some of the Mac OS issues where Eve was starting with case-sensitive file systems. They fixed a freeze issue of the native Mac client on some AMD Radeon hardware. And they also, in the user interface area, temporarily removed the DBS information from other content cards within the agency. So DBS information can still be found within the ESS section of the agency. And on the skill side, they updated accounting and broker relations skill descriptions with the adjusted tax values that they fixed last week. So those are the patch notes for today. So fixed a few things. Obviously, Mac was a little bit in the crab stuff. Obviously, dominated those fixes today, and then of course the event. All right, let's see here. What is next? Let's kind of move into some player news, right? So, I'm going to start off with just a bit of a little.
Did you stop talking?
No, I think, yeah, sorry, my headset just went poops. Can you hear me now, everyone?
I can hear you.
Excellent. All right, sorry about that. Sometimes that happens. So anyways, there's going to be a Cyno Vigil for a fallen capsuleer by the name of Old Man Keith. He passed away. There will be this vigil will be on Saturday, the 30th of October, on the 1DQ Keepstar at 2100 Eve time. There's a Reddit post about that. Old Man Keith was a capsuleer in the Corp 4S, which is one of the oldest, oldest still active corps in New Eden. It's part of Goon Swarm. Our condolences to those who knew him. There was a nice quote from his corp. Old Man Keith always put the well-being of others in front of his own, even to the last moments. In his last days, when they checked in on him, if he was okay, he said, "I'm surprised I'm still here, but I'll log in to get into a few fleets if I can." And that's pretty much how he liked Eve, and how much he liked Eve. And for us, he played right to the end. He left behind all his HiSec structures to keep an eye on them, for his corp to keep an eye on them, and to be used as moon mining places for new players. So they're going to try and keep them running. So again, that Cyno Vigil is on Saturday, the 30th of October, coming up here in a couple days at 2100 EU time. Again, reminder, it is in 1DQ, which is deep in Delve, as he was part of Goon Swarm. So if you wish to attend, gonna maybe start doing a little bit of planning, maybe reach out to someone in the Imperium, try and set your intentions. Don't be a dick about it. Go there literally just to be for the Cyno Vigil, and no counter plotting if they are kind enough to let you in. Just go and show your respects, pay your respects. So on to a couple faction supers. Let's talk about some death and destruction here in the Revenant and Vendetta sort of way. So a couple pandemic horde faction guys. It turns out that the person behind these two alts is a pilot known as Alana Ko, who's the same person who lost a Vanquisher and a Moloch a couple of weeks ago. So he's not having a good couple weeks. Apparently, especially with the 90% PvP, because this just happened. So the Vendetta dropped just over 108 billion ISK, and the Revenant dropped 163 billion ISK. These things are quite expensive. There's a couple of Killboard numbers out there that they're probably under because the faction caps are underpriced on Zkill because the market data is wildly inaccurate at this point still. So rough estimates, the hull values alone are about 25% underpriced. So I mean, the Vendetta was sitting somewhere around 235 billion. The Revenant, similar, quite crazy numbers, 265, quite high. So obviously he didn't really want to come on the show and talk about it. Don't blame him. But he did give us a comment. It's kind of interesting. Maybe we'll have other stories or some other people might want to come on and talk about it. But he was kind enough to give us a comment. So here's his quote. I'll read it to you. I was dropping supers with friends in Inn's mother area at first. Kills were low and we moved further down south. People who I thought were my friends and I trusted because I've dropped supers with them in the past decided to Awox me. So they end up telling me, hey, they got a target. They lit the Cyno. I jump in, they tackle me, and the rest is history. When we asked about him to comment on the people who killed him, the quote from him is, very skilled players that I flew with for a while, known them quite a while, thought they were my friends. I clearly thought wrong. And if anyone is wondering where he makes his money to afford these types of ships, he said, well, I've made ISK from high value trading ships and mods, and I still have a Komodo left at least. So, obviously trading in the faction ships is making him some nice ISK. TIS can also confirm the RSA group that killed him was on his side where he lost the Titans. So they were flying with him. And we can also confirm that as part of this, RSA ransomed him for 300 billion, which he paid, and then they still killed him. So not only is he out, somewhere in around 500 bill for the two ships, he also dropped 300 bill out of his wallet in an attempt to try and ransom by his way out. So not a good day. That's almost a trillion ISK swing, poor guy. Unfortunately. Yeah, not good. So you can go take a look on the kill boards, and there's a little post on Reddit that he started where he just fed 2 more faction supers. So all right, let's talk the Eden Halloween event. Let's talk about this. So we've had Nth Dimensional on here before. Most people should be familiar with him. Welcome to the show again, and thanks for waiting while I covered some of the other elements. How are we doing tonight?
I'm doing just peachy. Probably better than that other guy.
Yeah. Are you down 800 bill?
No, not quite. Then again, if I could be down 800 bill, maybe that would be okay.
Yeah. So it hasn't cost you 800 bill running the sites, doing some exploration yet? No?
No, definitely not.
No, good. So let's talk about. So I know that I think, as I mentioned, you tend to do more of the exploration side of events, and you're very big into exploration. We've had in the show for that, but I know that you have a little bit of knowledge about the combat stuff. Where do you want to start? How do you want to walk through some of this stuff?
We can just start with the exploration, just because I'm a little bit more familiar with that.
Sure.
So this event, should I just kind of like do a little rundown of it?
Yep. Yeah, please.
Okay, so this event is kind of separated into, like all the normal sites, which you can find in everywhere in New Eden, and then the advanced sites, which you can find in the low-sec area of Derelict, and then also the Blood Raider controlled area of Delve. And then they're pretty standard fare for the data sites for what we've seen from other events. You go in, you warp in, they're level 3 sites. There's a single can in them. Some interesting things to note is that you can cloak all throughout the site. Some other event sites you weren't able to do that, but this is definitely a little bit more gank friendly, if you catch my drift there. And then the actual can is pretty interesting. So the normal sites, the hacking can is actually the most difficult can like in the game. It's a red hack. It's very hard to do. So be prepared to like maybe grit your teeth a little bit on actually getting that can open. You might spend some time there. And not only that, but the advanced sites, so in the low sec and null sec area, uh, the hack is the hardest we have ever seen. It is a new level of hardness.
No way.
So yeah, they've added it. It still shows as like a red node, but everything is stronger and has more health. So if you're not pretty good at hacking, you're gonna have a lot of hard times there. And with the added stress of all the PvP and everyone around in a crowded area, the tensions are going to be high.
So what can we? So let's just take a little sidebar there. Okay, so red hacks. Just give us a. Some people might not know what that means. There's a strength level. There's kind of a progression to how hard these things are. But what allows you to try to overcome that? There's skills, modules. Is there boosters? Like what would help someone other than the
Yeah,
sheer
definitely.
practice, other than a whole bunch of practice? Can you just take a couple minutes and walk
Well,
us through that as well?
I do hate to say it, practice is going to be the best option. But if you don't have that, if you have ISK instead, maybe 800 billion, the things that you can do are there's skills to improve your strength and health to do the hacks. There's ships, so you're going to be doing like the Covop ships. There's a T3 ship that can the Covop on the T3 does it. The Astero, Stratios, basically all of your like regular exploration ships will generally give you a strength bonus. And then probably the most helpful thing is there's a black glass implant, and that actually gives you more strength. It does cost some of your analyzer's health, but the way the hacking mechanics work, it turns out that it's very, very good. So, and because you're going to be in low sec, unless you're going to go over to Delve, you're probably not going to lose your pod, and it is decently cheap as well. So it's probably worth looking into.
Okay. All right. So keep an eye out for that. I mean, on the event, there's a couple boosters coming up. I think when I looked at them, they were more PvP oriented boosters. I don't think they're boosters for the hacking. Is that what you saw as
Yeah.
well?
So I haven't seen any boosters that increase your like hacking ability. That said, though, the Rogue Drone event, their air boosters still are effective. So if you want
Okay.
to just get a little bit better at scanning and finding the sites, you can still use those, and they're very cheap as well because they're about to expire.
Oh, good. Okay. All right. So I'm just make sure I understand this. So in HiSec, you're still likely to get a red node, and in low sec and null sec, you're going to get this double red. It's like black diamond and double black diamond. If you're a skier, they're
Yeah.
just making it harder now. So now you got a double red. I'm going to call it a coin TM Rundle, double red can. Is that do I get that right? So like in HiSec, it's going to be a single red. That's crazy.
Yeah. So all of the normal sites, so HiSec and everywhere else, it's still going to be a hard hack, especially if you're not used to it.
Wow. Okay. So that's probably where you should kind of go and figure things out. Less likely of any PvP unless you want to get ganked in HiSec, I guess. But maybe a little strategy would be go figure out how hard the red is if you've never done one before. If you're just jumping in, you want to try. Hey, Halloween's the time I want to try and do this. Practice. Who cares about practice? I just want to jump in. I bring that up because I kind of did that last year and was like an idiot about it. But hey. I'm not the best at hacking. I haven't spent enough time doing it. But would that be like the right strategy, you think? Go to HiSec, kind of try and figure out the red, get my shit, get my shit going, and then venture on into low sec for my double reds.
Yeah, I mean that's probably a good plan. You can also just like as you're touring HiSec, there are the still regular data sites that you might want to check out, and those are obviously going to be a lot easier hacks. So it's just going around hacking, getting a little bit more practice.
Yeah,
Skills
but I
will
want the
help.
Halloween loot. So
Yeah.
yeah. So you've obviously done some of these. What's the loot look like?
The loot is pretty interesting. So like we'll call it the minimum baseline is like probably 3 million, which isn't great. And then something interesting to note is that because there are the two different sites, there's the Blood and the Tetramon. The Tetramon sites are going to have the blank clones, which you sell to the Blood Raiders over in NPC Delve. And then the Blood sites are going to have Overseer's effects. And the value is probably sort of kind of similar comparably. The Overseer effects are probably going to just be more expensive over time, but they are also way heavier. So if you go around flying in a lot of exploration ships, especially like the T2 Covop ships, they don't have a lot of cargo space. So it is going to be a little bit of a concern. But then the rest of the loot is pretty standard fare for events. You're going to get some skins, a lot of Iron Blood skins, some Headhunter skins. There are Cerebral Accelerators. Again, like the basic, potent, and extended for all the other events. There are also all these new weird boosters, which I think are pretty cool. I don't know what all of them are or what they all do, but there's things like increasing your resistances in a booster or like increasing your web range. A lot of really cool stuff there to look at. And then other than that, just like a bunch of random junk. There has been, you can get over 100 million ISK in a HiSec, like in a regular data site can. So that's pretty neat. And you can also get a lot of cool skins for a lot of money there.
Well, that'd be all right. So, the other thing, for scanning, and all that stuff, there's now drops for building, as part of the industrial side, right? Do the event cans have any of these special drops for, capitals and super capitals and all that stuff, or no?
They don't have any for super or capitals, but they do interestingly and pretty rarely have some of the composite molecular condensers. It's not really going to be anything to really consider, but it's just a little interesting thing. But I haven't seen any of the more capital or super capital industry components.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that people who are trying to farm sites aren't going to be trying to come on the harvest stuff to hey, I need my industrial stuff. But I was just curious if people are going to find them. I think of it from a risk reward and a pressure. If people are going to want to run the harvest event stuff and maybe bypass the other sites, maybe the reverse would be true. But yeah, that's all I was thinking.
I don't think there's really a lot of reason to bypass anything you normally would. The sites in general, like for their loot value, seems pretty reasonable, but you can also get a lot of other value out of the other sites. And a lot of scanning is just kind of like taking what you are given. So you don't typically pass up on like, oh, there's a site I could do, but I'm just gonna go.
Right. Okay, so that's any more to add on the scanning side, on the exploration side of the event?
I'll say for the advanced sites, they are level 4 sites for scanning, which again is pretty easy. It's just something that if you're a little bit more advanced, you might be like, oh, I know that this is going to be a level 4 site or this is going to be a level 3 site. So it can help you narrow down the sites a little quicker if you're looking for that.
Okay. And on the combat side, so there's obviously the combat sites, right? So there's the exploration side of the event, and then there's the combat side. You want to take a stab at walking us through? I have a bit of a write-up from one of the show guys, Shen. Some notes there. I can start first, and you could add in. How about that? Why don't we do it that way?
Sounds good to me.
Sure. So so Shen, who's a TIS show member here, he's kind of run a couple of these here in nullsec, and I'm just going to kind of read what he provided us for the show here today. I haven't had a chance to do it myself yet. But basically, when you first warp in, there's an initial wave of defenders. It's just one wave. Once you clear that, the acceleration gate is activated. There is a shortcut gate that people can activate right away once tackle's clear, but you probably need some sort of special key. But he clears that those first rats on the gate, and he takes the original acceleration gate. He goes into the first room. There's another inactive gate that you can approach. There's 3 waves in that room. Once a certain amount of rats are cleared in the 3rd wave, the activation gate, the gate will be active and be able to be used. You usually need to clear the tackle first before the gate can be activated. You now end up in the last room. You have 2 waves of normal rats, and then you get 1 battleship at the end. All the loot for the event is in the battleship. He has given us a little breakdown kind of in terms of the rats. There's going to be frigates all the way to battle cruisers, and then of course the battleship at the end. Curse for heavy neuting and heavy tank and tracking disruptions. There's omens for standard damage and webs. There's Argers there for Logi for the rats. And Oracle is the only battle cruiser, and it deals pretty high damage, but not as tanky as one may think. And the battleship at the end was very easy for him, at least. Didn't seem to do that much damage, so it seems to be a little bit of a loot pinata at the end. So that was kind of the wrap up that Shen provided. Anything else to add?
I would say that's a pretty good summary there. Other things to note is that the rats do basically all of the E-War in the game except for like jamming. So you're going to just really have a fun time there. But particularly the neuting is probably the most problematic. So definitely, if you're fitting your ship, think about either getting like Republic Fleet Cat batteries or maybe even doing like an Ancil. But it's definitely something that you need to worry about. And then as for like ship choice, I've definitely seen a lot of probably like T3Cs is like the choice ship. But if you can't fly that, things like if you can fly a hack well, you could get away with it. Or bigger things like T1 battleships. A lot of people like their rattlesnakes. It's a little bit overkill, but it definitely works. And then if you're doing the advanced sites, they're basically the same thing, just harder. And I think like a Marauder's probably overkill. I saw it done with a Marauder, but these are pretty hard sites. Like they're not something to just like run in with. I don't know, like a T1 cruiser or something.
Yeah, these aren't destroyer based. These are like some of the events where you're kind of capped at a destroyer or even a T2 destroyer, like a Bifrost or something. These legit scale like events, and you probably need to bring a battle cruiser or a battleship or something along those lines. Can you run them with multiple friends? You can bring multiple people, right? I believe.
Yeah, and that's probably actually the best thing to do. Just because, especially if like you're doing it in low sec, you got some friends for PvP. Because if you don't have friends, then you might get PvP'd on. But yeah, definitely bring a lot of friends. That eases the burden a whole lot. Last year we did a bunch of typhoons, me and my friends, with the sites, and they're pretty similar, so you can definitely get away with that as well.
Yeah, we got. Okay, yeah, Skyhawk in the audience said he did one in a Gila earlier, so that was pretty good. Do you know, are there escalations off these? I think most of the events don't have any escalations, right?
There are escalations.
Oh, are there on these ones? Okay, great.
Yeah, but it's only on the advanced combat sites. So you already have to be in like the special area doing the hard sites, and then you can get an escalation.
That's probably why I never saw one.
Yeah,
not special enough to do that. So, What's another question from the audience? What's drone aggro like?
Oh, they hate them.
Yeah, Skyhawk is in from the audience as well, saying they went after his drones right away. So they certainly he had to do management. He had to do some active drone management. He couldn't just drop them and roll. So he had to manage those. That's good. So what about damage profile and resists? Do you have any insight on? Is it omni? Is it like omni damage from the rats? You should kind of have some sort of uniform, or are they going to follow the?
So it's not omni, but it is kind of, because like everything just kind of shoots different stuff. So there is a choice resistance and thing to shoot, but it's kind of obfuscated and weird and doesn't terribly matter. If you have like a reactive armor hardener, that's probably a really good choice. And also, if you have like a hole or something, you can just check out what the specific rats do and kill those guys first.
Okay.
Something to note, though, is also if you are going to be using a larger ship, like a battleship, you probably do want to have some kind of application. Again, this is kind of like why Typhoons is kind of nice, because you are fighting mainly cruisers and frigates.
Okay. Good to know. I was going to say, are these the type of events where the rats will warp away and warp back in? And someone in the audience actually just wrote that if you do spread out too far, or I guess you and your gang or you and your drones or whatever, they will warp away, kind of just a little bit off grid, a couple 100 kilometers, 300 kilometers or something, then warp back and try to isolate you or the drones or whatever. So they do move around. It's not just get in the room and kill as you slow boat towards the gate. All right, so yep, got to pay attention to that if you're going to run those. Where did the advanced sites spawn? Can you give someone in the audience, Mr. Shampoo, great name, asked where do these advanced sites spawn?
Yeah, so very specifically, they spawn in Derelict, Low Sec. So Derelict has high and low sec areas, but they're only in low. And then in Delve, in the Blood Raider NPC controlled Sov area. That's it.
Those are the only places, yeah. So
they'll probably be pretty packed, and with the PvP incentive, be aware.
Yeah, exactly. Mr. Shampoo, bring the dandruff variety because there'll be a lot of fluff, a lot of fallout. That's a lame joke I attempted. Didn't work so well. All right. So any other questions from the audience on the event stuff, or Nth Dimensional, you got anything to add on any of it?
Should be fun.
Okay.
Go out there and kill people.
Yeah, good stuff. Let's so also on the Halloween, just before we wrap up the kind of the event side of things, don't forget there is the PvP brawl, right? There is the 45 plus billion in treats, right? On Halloween on October 31st, 1700 Eve time. There's going to be the PvP brawl. They're going to be handing all sorts of stuff. So this is in Stacmon. So don't forget to again, there's some player stuff from I Choose You, the secondary market Citadel dock in there. Do a little, get your clones there, get your ships there. There is the New Eden Trade Discord. There's I'm going to try and see if I can. I can't get that link. Sorry about that. We'll try and get that to you guys. It's out on the forums, so don't forget about that. That's going to be a lot of fun. So way to, if your sum has just lost like 800 billion, this probably event isn't going to help you out too much. But if you're a standard pilot, you're going to probably maybe get a chance to win some stuff and have a little bit of fun PvP. So yeah, so that should be a good time. And as someone in the audience, Rochambeau is mentioning, don't forget there's also, at the Eve store, there's Omega Times on sale, 15% off, right? So you can get it under $10 a month. You can stock up there. There's, some different things in the stores that you can, spend some of that hard-earned money if you want. All right. Okay. One last bit of news to talk about. Maybe we'll talk about this for a few minutes. I think Nth, you were kind of in on this, or kind of talked a little bit about this, but there's some fairly big news out of Nullis Gunde Schulpen, NSH, right? So two of the main leaders, Anur and Wally Martz, have left the alliance and joined Snuffed Out. The new leader is now Pittsburgh 2989 of the Original Sinners. That corporation, Original Sinners, joined from Northern Coalition in July. So it's funny. So Pittsburgh and his group, Original Sinners, left NC Dot. Vince Draken called them traitors, and meaning Pittsburgh Pictures Group joined NSH. So there was a public comment by Pittsburgh talking about how Anur has been running NSH for about 2 years. A lot of it was just on him, not a huge support group. So he got burnt out, approached a few people about taking over, Pittsburgh being one of them, while he took a break. He asked me to lead the military effort. He said, okay. So he has, he had really no desire to run an alliance, but also don't want to see NSH fall or fail. So he passed roles and assets over to Yibby and Wheeler, a couple of longtime folks in NSH. Then Anur left the alliance, which was not what Pittsburgh expected, at least. And he thought he was just going to line, just kind of go into line member mode. He told him in his messages, don't pull a Kenadar on me, which is a reference where he left Trigger happy for real life, but gave no notice to anyone. Wally had been getting frustrated with some people as well, and he was an East Coast time zone guy with a busy real life, so he can't stay up late. Most of the NSH fleets are started, kind of a little later on in the evening, so justifiably was frustrating for him. He left apparently after discussing with Anur as well, so his departure was also not known ahead of time by Pittsburgh. So the alliance leadership transition was Anur's idea, done peacefully, no intention to close up shop or anything. And Pittsburgh now has people filling all the various roles, and not much else is changing apparently. So the way Pittsburgh looks at it, he's just really in charge of the military ops. Wheeler holds legacy clout and is official leader. Yabby is most active guy. So all this just happened yesterday, and we haven't sat down together since Anur left. So they need to still confirm roles and figure out what's going on. And really, Pittsburgh is just really there to PvP and have fun with friends. Even though he's in charge, he doesn't really want to run the alliance. So I'm guessing that means more changes on the horizon at some point. That's how I would read that. Now, what I heard that you had mentioned this on your show earlier, on your stream earlier, Nth Dimensional. How did that come about?
I did.
Oh, I don't know. I thought maybe you did. So isn't that what Ren was saying? Maybe you didn't. Or maybe I completely misunderstood that part of the conversation. But
I don't concern myself with the affairs of nullsecers.
Well, fair enough. All right.
No, I just I don't know. I was unaware.
Okay. Maybe I completely misunderstood what you and Ren were talking about beforehand, before the show. All right. Well, then, if you don't have anything to add, let's see. There's not much else left. It went faster than I thought, although I thought we would have a whole bunch of other. I thought you were going to talk about this NHS stuff. Well, aren't I stupid? Okay. If you have anything else to add to the audience, a quick message. Nth Dimensional, do you got anything you want to plug your stream, or want to tell people what you're going to be up to over the weekend? You're going to be running sites and streaming?
Yeah, definitely check out my Twitch channel. I'll link that in the chat. Typically I don't stream on the weekends, but this weekend I might. Probably doing some PvP in the low sec areas. If I'm not doing the actual hacking of the cans. There's also the YouTube channel. I'll link that as well. So give me a second. I'll put them in the chat.
Yeah, always nice when you show up. I appreciate you spending some time with us. Maniscar been awfully quiet in the background, all that heavy duty engineering work. I appreciate it. Any final questions from the audience? Doesn't look like there is, so I guess there was someone thinking that the Sinners were going to go to Goons, and there was a bunch of that stuff was really all just the big war stuff. But yeah, that's so that when Pittsburgh News Group left NC Dot, that was right at the end of the war, and that whole year bunch of traitor stuff. So that, but I mean, that was just a few months ago. That wasn't all that long ago that happened. So absolutely. All right, well then, went a little faster than I thought. Appreciate everyone showing up. I guess that'll be the show for tonight. Thank you for spending your Thursday night with us here at Talking Stations. And remember, trick or treat, what will your pleasure be? Come out to the brawl on the 31st and get some free loot. All right, everyone, thanks very much. Have a good night.